Well, we all are good at something, aren't we? Let's talk about it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of The Luckiest Man in America, the newest film from director Samir Oliveros. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Luckiest Man in America, if you've never heard the story, is about Michael Larson, and Michael Larson is played by Paul Walter Hauser. And if you know the game Push Your Luck, it was a famous game in the 80s and 70s where it involved contestants basically hitting buttons that would allow them to possibly make a lot of money. With a random combination of pictures and stuff like that, it became, it was very difficult to get the money, and sometimes you would hit the whammies and stuff like that. So, in the process of everything, this guy, Michael Larson, figured out the kind of process or the combinations and how they rotated throughout the board and was able to win a lot of money. Of course, got himself in trouble because they thought he was cheating. And the process of everything basically showed that these games were fallible and that they could be used against it. So therefore, this guy Michael Larson made over $100,000 in 1984, and was basically learned that he was a schemer and stuff like that. But he had basically memorized the board and had started winning. He kept winning and winning and winning. Very famous kind of game show scandal. And that's the story. That's what the story is about. It's about him being on the game show and kind of the nature of who Michael Larson is in a lot of respects. So I gotta say, I knew the Michael Larson story. I've seen the documentaries. I know all about the Push Your Luck scandal and stuff like that. But I'm always up for a good, dramatic kind of retelling of the story. I knew this wasn't going to be exactly how it happened. But this movie has quite the cast in it. It has Paul Walter Hauser, it has Walter Goggins, Shamier Anderson, of course, David Stratharin, Maisie Williams, Johnny Knoxville's in this movie for a little bit. But I'm really interested to see if they can, if the directors and writers can succeed and create a very interesting story based on a true story, that type of thing. So once again, this isn't based on an actual event that happened with Michael Larson, and of course, and Press Your Luck, not Push Your Luck, Press Your Luck. So with that said, to leave my honest review of this movie, this type of movie shows that you can have a very atypical beat by beat by beat kind of storytelling element when it comes to like a true life story. But as long as you cast it properly and as long as those actors are competent, you can basically make anything into a movie and have it be kind of riveting. And even if you know the story, as long as they know how to tell the story and at least add in some interesting ideas, you can make for some really fascinating movie making. And that's what this movie is. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's a really entertaining movie. I think it once again shows the strengths of who Paul Walter Hauser is as a very schlubby, very kind of down on his luck trodden type of guy, but he does it so well. I think Paul Walter Hauser is one of the most underrated actors working today. And you see it in Blackbird, and you see it in Black Klansman, you see it in Cobra Kai. He's a guy that, has a type, but he plays that type very well, and he's just very good as an actor who doesn't, I feel, get a lot of appreciation for what he does. I think he's fantastic as Michael Larson, and it kind of ticks in nature is there's something underlying that's very troublesome about him, but there's also kind of a level of empathy in a lot of respects. There's a kind of a weird streak, but also just Paul Walter Hauser does a nice job of portraying a guy that just kind of knew how to beat the system, and it really shows. It's really well done. It's really well operated. David Stratharin in this movie, who plays Bill Carruthers, is the kind of the guy in charge of this game show and stuff like that. It's it's perfect casting. Walter Goggins as the guy who's hosting the show. It's okay, yes, sign me up. Walter Goggins in a movie or a TV show. It's you have a perfect casting, and then you add in people Brian Geraghty and Shamier Anderson and Haley Bennett and Johnny Knoxville, who has a small part, David Rysdahl and Maisie Williams, who has a small part. It's a movie that's well cast. Is it the greatest cast of all time? No, but it's a cast that really represents how to do a movie like this and do it very, very well, and just how they get the ticks of the individuals. Paul Walter Hauser's ticks of Michael Larson are really interesting. I love how during the taping and stuff like that, he wears a jacket but he's wearing shorts, so I'm assuming that's true. It's just there's a lot of that cool stuff, and I like the fact that it has a lot of the Hollywood symptoms, There's a scene where Michael Larson's character is running it through, he gets found out by Shamier Anderson's character, and he's basically confronted by two actors who are playing cops, and he freaks out, and then he ends up on a show that's being run by Johnny Knoxville's character. There's just a lot of Hollywood inside baseball, but there's also just, they make for a very compelling character, to be fairly honest. Even if a lot of the stuff wasn't true, like they made up a lot of stuff, like how the Michael Larson story went, how it broke down. There is a compelling arc to what they're taking on, and the only thing I can say that I didn't really care about this movie is it's just a little slow. It really is. I think some of the characters are over the top. I think the Shamier Anderson character is over the top, and he's very detective like, but it's like, okay, you're breaking into someone's truck. That seems a little far fetched, but maybe it isn't, because it seems like a invasion of privacy. But once again, a lot of this may be true. A lot of this may happen the way it does. And it ends on, a hopeful note for a guy that really did not help himself out in the later runs of his life. But I think it's a movie that shows you how much Press Your Luck was popular. It shows you the machinations of how a show is run like that. It shows you about a guy who beat the system. And it shows that a movie like this can have a lot of fun, be very entertaining, but also be something that you've seen a million times before and a lot of other based on true stories. So I think Paul Walter Hauser is fantastic in this movie. I think everyone else is fantastic, but I think it's a movie about a guy who basically knew how to read the system, knew how to work the system, and was accused of cheating the system, even though he did. He just knew how it worked. And it shows that, sometimes corporations and game shows and companies can be schemy as well. So there you go. Anyways, with that said, that is my take on The Luckiest Man in America. Of course, now in theaters. There you go. Thank you so much for watching. Comments below. What did you think of this movie? Did you watch it? Do you know anything about the Michael Larson story? It's pretty crazy if you watch it and think about it, because he actually died in a city I lived in. So that's really interesting. But let me know in the comments below. So otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at top to find what's coming next. If you liked the video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.